Todd McShay, the McBoard is up. Mock Draft 4.0, and it kicks off with 3 straight quarterbacks. Here's what McShay is forecasting. The Panthers at number 1, taking Ohio State's C.J. Stroud. The Buckeyes signal caller led the nation in touchdown passes and QBR in his 2 seasons as a starter in Columbus. Next up, he has the Texans taking Alabama's Bryce Young, who was the top pick in Todd's previous mock draft. He is the only Alabama quarterback ever to win the Heisman. And then he's forecasting a trade at number 3, with the Colts moving up 1 spot to take the rapidly rising Anthony Richardson out of Florida. Indy has had a different week 1 starter each of the last 7 seasons. For this mock, 2 additional quarterbacks going off the board in round 1. Will Levis at 14, Hendon Hooker at 23. Jalen Carter is moving up, and we can talk about that. We all understand all the issues from off the field with him. He had been at number 12. Todd now has him up to 5 to the Seahawks. And he has the defending NFC champion Eagles taking 2 defensive ends in the first round. So let me bring McShay into the conversation here, and then I'm going to bring the whole crew in with you as well. But Todd, let me start. The decision between C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young at the top. I know from talking to you and from listening to your podcast that if it were your choice to make, you would go with Bryce Young at number 1. Why do you expect the Panthers to take C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a razor-thin, debate when you start talking about these top 2 quarterbacks. And ask Mike T, any general manager would love to have this opportunity. When you have a draft and you move up to number 1 and have 2 elite quarterback prospects, not 1 but 2, now it's a tough decision. With Bryce Young, to me, it really comes down to, are you comfortable with him staying healthy for a 17-game NFL season year after year? Tua Tagovailoa has struggled with his durability. Young has been more durable in college. He had the shoulder injury that it kind of, prevented him from passing during this past season for a few weeks, but he recovered from it, fine at his pro day, fine late in the season. But can he stay healthy? What he brings is magic and creativity and poise and the ability to extend plays that C.J. Stroud simply doesn't bring. But Stroud is bigger, he's sturdier, he's been more durable, and he is the best pocket passer in this class. I mean, you look at his touch, timing, anticipation, and ball placement on all 3 levels. There's no quarterback in this class like him. Now, we saw against Georgia when he decides, hey, I'm gonna take over a game. I'm gonna run the football when I need to. That's the guy that you want to see at the next level if you're evaluating him, but that wasn't always the case at Ohio State. So there's an argument to be made for both of these guys. Frank Reich has typically worked with 6'4" to 6'6" quarterbacks, and makes a lot of sense. But the general manager, Scott Fitterer, was with the Seahawks when they drafted Russell Wilson, an undersized quarterback, albeit in the 3rd round at that point. So it could go either way, but I am told that all the decision makers are kind of leaning in the same direction. We just don't know what direction that is right now.
It will be 3 weeks from Thursday that we'll officially find out. Todd, stay there. Let me get a quick round with the group here. RC, I mean, it's as simple as this. If Bryce Young was 6'2" and 215, we wouldn't even be having a conversation here. But as a guy who played defense, you played safety, and you were known to, when you hit people, they stayed hit. How much of a factor in this to you is the size?
Well, I think the factor in size is familiarity in history. When you look at guys like Johnny Manziel and guys like Kyler Murray, who were drafted that were under 6 feet, you've seen how their careers have gone. Bryce Young is better than both of those players. Todd used the exact word I would. He's absolutely magic. But C.J. Stroud, being a little bigger, being sturdier, being the better pocket passer or the best pocket passer of this class, is a guy I believe people are more sure about, and that's why he may go number 1 over Bryce Young. I'll tell you this, I've spent time with both of these young men, and they are absolutely electric as leaders. And so I know once they step into any locker room, they will be the guy, and I think they both can be extremely successful.
D. Wood, if you're you're an offensive tackle on these teams, is there one way or the other you want them to go? Which name are you hoping to hear if it's your team?
Me personally, I would probably lean towards Bryce Young, because he does have that magic element to him, the escapability he has. But again, Green, I always go back to, can he play? Will he be able to play 17 games?
Yeah, of course.
17. I mean, it's just, we've seen Kyler. Ryan talked about it. Kyler Murray, he's had injury issues. Smaller quarterback, electric. We use the same type of words related to Kyler Murray. Those are the issues you have with Bryce Young. Will he be able to play 17 games?
And Mike T, this is not meant as an insult, but it has been my experience. General managers sometimes like to take the safer decision, right? They like to take the one that'll be easier to explain if it doesn't go well. Is one of these two safer than the other?
Well, yes, C.J. Stroud would be, just because he's prototypical size. I agree with everything Todd had said. I would go with Bryce Young despite that, though, Greeny, because Todd said this a couple months ago. I think he's Steph Curry. I think he is the exception to the rule, and 9 rushing touchdowns sort of backs that up.
All right, so then let me come back to McShay here. Todd, because I host this thing, I've been studying your mocks and Mel's mocks and all the conversations going back to the very end of the regular season. At that point, Anthony Richardson was trending towards being drafted somewhere in the late teens, and now all of a sudden we're trading up to take him at 3. No games have been played since then. Obviously, we understand the spectacular athleticism. Tell me how this is happening and what do you expect with Richardson?
Well, it's the position and it's his unbelievable talent and what he can be. And if you're an organization, whether it's the Colts at 3 moving up 1 spot, or Seattle sitting at 5, or another team like Tennessee, or Washington at 16, or the Buccaneers at 19, some team I think is going to trade up for Anthony Richardson at some point and bet on his upside. And that upside is 6'4", 244 pounds, running a 4.43. And you can see at the pro day, you can see flashes of it on tape. He flicks his wrist rolling left in one of these throws, off balance, and drives it 60 yards on a line. I mean, every throw is easy for him. He doesn't have to strain. Now, we've got to get him more comfortable. Just 13 career starts in college. But I look at Josh Allen. I think that's the comp physically. Josh Allen was more experienced coming out of Wyoming. Again, 13 starts for Anthony Richardson. But when you're talking about big, mobile, rifle arm, there's a lot to work with here. I just hope he finds a place where there's a Brian Daboll to develop him like Josh Allen had in Buffalo.
Why are you projecting the Panthers to go C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young?
Well, it comes down to durability, really, Greeny. When you look at it, to me, Bryce Young brings an element of magic, extending plays and poise that, unlike many quarterback prospects you'll see from the college level going to the NFL. I think he has a chance to be special. He's still my QB1 in this class. But if you're looking at the durability concerns, at 5'10" and change, 204 pounds, had the shoulder injury this year, was able to play through it for the most part, but was kind of shut down during practice for a few weeks. That versus C.J. Stroud, who has the bigger frame at 6'3", over 214, 15 pounds, somewhere in that range, and is the best pure pocket passer in this class. I mean, the way that he spins the ball on all 3 levels and the ball placement that he has is unlike any other quarterback in this class. So what are you looking for? That's the decision that you have to make. Frank Reich is more used to this guy. Their head coach, who's been a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, is more used to the pocket passer, and he's worked with basically all guys from 6'4" to 6'6". But Scott Fitterer, don't forget, was with the Seahawks organization, the general manager, and at that time with the organization, the Seahawks, when they drafted Russell Wilson, who was 5'10" and change, but thickly built, had kind of a different build than Bryce Young. So to me, it's a really difficult decision. It's a great spot to be in, but Stroud right now, I think, is the odds-on favorite.
And then I want to ask you a quick question about Richardson before I jump to another thing, because as you know, our buddy Dan Orlovsky is one of many who are suggesting do not overlook the possibility that Richardson ultimately makes it all the way up to number 1. So you will be on the draft that night, as I will, and so many others will. If Roger Goodell says the words, with the first pick in the 2023 NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers select Anthony Richardson, quarterback, Florida, what will be the first thing you say?
It's a huge mistake, because I think Anthony Richardson has a chance to be a star. I also think Anthony Richardson could very easily be a bust. He could be a coach killer, because he only has 13 starts. You have to have the right coaches in place. You have to have the patience, that luxury of patience and time to develop him properly. If you throw him in right now, mentally he's not there yet. He's a very smart guy. Everyone I've talked to says he picks things up quickly. He just doesn't have the game reps, and he needs more experience learning. Even talking to his head coach, Billy Napier, before Pro Day, he said, the biggest thing for Richardson is he's still learning how to diagnose defense in the defensive structure. Is it a 5-man protection, a 6-man protection? Where's the pressure coming from? What's the pre-snap read versus what I'm now seeing post-snap? And he's got to do it in a flash, and he's not used to doing that. So he needs time to develop, whereas you have a very clear top tier of quarterbacks in this class, and it includes 2 guys, and that's C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. You've got a chance to draft an elite quarterback prospect out of one of these 2 guys. You don't fool around with the great potential of Richardson. You take a sure thing.
All right, fair enough. I'm being told that I have to run here. McShay, I'll come back to you on a few other things again. The mock is up right now, Mock Draft 4.0, Todd McShay, and we will check in with you as we continue. Todd, thank you. Outstanding. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.